Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today and thank you for your support. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Chet Baker Sings and the imminent release, or I should say repress, of the 1954 debut singing album, which is called Chet Baker Sings. It was originally released on Pacific Jazz. It was reissued by Tone Poet early on in their series and went out of print after a couple of represses and hasn't been seen since, until it was just announced recently that they're repressing it and it'll be released on August 4th. I am very excited about it because I missed that one and I am a big fan of Chet Baker Singing. That one right now is only available exclusively through the Blue Note store. I do expect that to change. However, I didn't want to miss this time around, and just in case it's not a wide repress. So I did order mine from Blue Note, and I threw in Nigeria as well to try to soften the blow of the shipping. And my fingers are crossed that Blue Note will do a decent job with the shipment. I've never ordered from them directly before, so I've heard a few good and bad stories, but hopefully everything will be fine. Once it becomes available on a wider scale, if it's available through Amazon, I'll be listing it in the store as well. So this is a very exciting announcement, and I'm very, very glad for everyone that missed that Tone Poet to be able to get it. But there are a couple of other Chet Baker albums that I wanted to talk about today, and a little bit about his singing in general. I was first exposed to Chet Baker Singing probably around the time of the documentary Let's Get Lost. There's actually a CD out that's called Let's Get Lost, I think. Yeah. And it collects all the best vocal performances from these two albums and the first one. That period from 1954 to 1958 features what I feel are Chet's best early vocals. That boyish, innocent, sort of naive quality of singing that once you hear it, you either love it or hate it. Some people fall in the middle. They I can like it in limited doses, but I like to hear him play and then sing a couple tracks and then play. These have singing on all tracks. So his trumpet playing is also throughout these albums, but is not as much a feature as his singing. The first one, of course, is the 1954 release of Chet Baker Sings on Pacific. The second one that came out a year later in 1954 for the original, 1955 for this one. This is called Chet Baker Sings and Plays. It was released by Tone Poet and is still currently available. I have this listed in my store as well, so you can always check that out below. But this is with Bud Shank and Russ Friedman and strings. So there's a string section, there's a harp and flute, which are used on several tracks, not all of them. And the first time you hear this, you might be a little put off by the string arrangements. It's a little saccharine at points, I thought, when I first heard it, but I came to realize as I listened to it more and more in preparation for this review that eventually that all kind of fades away, your preconceived notions about string arrangements on a jazz album. And Chet Baker's vocals come to the fore. And you really, I listened to all three of these, the first one on streaming and these two on records, all the way through in chronological order. And what I realized was really the focus is on Chet singing. He does play trumpet parts throughout these albums, and this one is a good example of that. He'll sing a lyric and then he'll play a trumpet part that kind of echoes the lyrical line. And it's very interesting because, and it says this in the liner notes too, that his trumpet playing often will follow his lyrical line and vice versa. So his singing is kind of like an instrument in a way, the way he sings the lyric. It's very affecting. I find his boyish vocals very attractive. Maybe a whole album worth is a little too much for some people, but I can listen to either of these albums all the way through and just be like, wow, just listening to him sing these songs is so interesting and very affecting. I like it very much. The track selection on this is very good, as is the first album. The first album may be perfection as far as track listing. But this one has Let's Get Lost, which starts the album with an upbeat number and is very, very good. A classic, really, for him. This Is Always, Just Friends, I Wish I Knew, I Remember You, Daybreak, You Don't Know What Love Is, which I love, absolutely love that one. And that one has strings, if I'm not mistaken. A really interesting cut that I had never heard before is called Gray December. And it's such a moody, kind of downbeat song, and it's kind of ironic to hear young Chet Baker singing this song about dying embers and gray Decembers. It's sort of melancholy, but very, very well done. Long Ago and Far Away is also on here, and Someone to Watch Over Me, which is another one with strings that I absolutely love. I really kind of have gotten over the string aspect of this record, and I really like it for what it is. A beautiful document of Chet singing in a little bit different setting than the first album. I'm not a big fan of the cover. I think the cover is not very attractive, but it gets the point across. And the pressing by RTI for Blue Note Tone Poet is excellent. The mastering by Kevin Gray is great. So it is a mono record, so it is a little bit flat in a way compared to modern recordings. And remember, this is mono 1955, so don't expect any sonic miracle, but it is very, very good for what it is. And a nice next step if you already have the Chet Baker Sings Pacific Jazz release, or if you're wanting to delve a little deeper from other points in his career, this is a good one. The second one I have is the Riverside Craft. So this was released in the box set, and then the 4 individual releases were done separately as standalones. And this came in 1958 originally. So several years had passed, and it's called It Could Happen to You. This time the band is different, and I like this aspect of the record. He's using Kenny Drew on piano, George Morrow or Sam Jones on bass, Philly Joe Jones on drums, or Danny Richmond on drums, and of course his trumpet. So there's no strings on this. It's a stereo recording. It's a much more polished production, and the song selection is great too. Things that have become standards, but Do It the Hard Way, I'm Old Fashioned, You're Driving Me Crazy, It Could Happen to You, My Heart Stood Still, The More I See You, Everything Happens to Me, Dancing on the Ceiling, How Long Has This Been Going On, and Old Devil Moon. I really like It Could Happen to You. I like Do It the Hard Way. This is a softly swinging style, some ballads, all jazz though, and very, very good with more up-to-date sound. The one thing I could say about his vocals between these albums is by the time he got here, the vocal delivery is a little more assured, and in a way I kind of prefer the earlier vocals, fragility and innocence. There's a tiny loss of innocence on this one and a little more confidence. So it's very interesting balance of elements on this record. But all 3 of these are highly recommended. I'm very excited to hear the new Tone Poet, which will be August 4th. And these 2 fill the gap for the time being for my Chet Baker Sings addiction. I know he continued singing throughout his career. I haven't explored that area yet, but I will. I'm slowly building my Chet Baker collection, and these two are very worthwhile and highly recommended. So let me know what you think about these two records and about Chet Baker singing in general. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you on the fence? I personally love it. I think it's very affecting and beautiful, and he does a great job on all these records. So until next time, I'm Scott for the Pressing Matters. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.